Hey, everybody, and welcome to And Action Filmmaking Podcast. I'm Tommy DiNucci. As always, I'm here with Mike Messier, and we've got a fun show today. We're going to try and become seekers of the truth today. We're going to be talking about common movie business misconceptions. It's one of those wild worlds of entertainment where there's a lot of mystery, there's a lot of clouds behind. How do you crack into this? Magical business. We're going to be talking about all that. But before we get into it, Mike, how are you? It's Tuesday all over again.
Yeah, Tommy, it's Tuesday. Good to see you, buddy, and good to have the audience here. And we always encourage everyone to copy and paste that URL, help us get this show out to more people, share it in your Facebook film groups and wherever else you can share. And Tommy, when you mentioned this topic to me the other night, it's so many ways we can approach this. So I have a few anecdotes and a few life lessons, perhaps, and I'm looking forward to hearing yours as well. So, misconceptions, really an interesting starting point here.
It really is, and you'll have to excuse me at home. I've got just so much friggin' cat hair on me. Uh, I love my animals, but that is the one kind of downfall to having a cat. It's like if you have a black shirt, forget it. You're out of luck. I guess I need a lint brush. But yeah, common misconceptions in the movie business. This is again, it's one of those businesses that, I feel like everybody knows somebody that's in the business. Whether you've got a cousin that is a screenwriter, or my nephew is a PA in LA, or, out in California. It's almost like everyone that I encounter has some odd 7 degrees Kevin Bacon game connection to somebody who's in the movie business. Yet it's not one of those occupations where, oh, well, we see it on TV all the time. We know what a postman, we know what a postal worker does. We know what a doctor does. We know what a lawyer does. But actors, writers, directors, and everyone in between, people who work in the movie business, there's a big question mark. There's kind of this almost it's almost like a little bit of a secret society to the outside world. And with that, you hear a lot of mistruths and what the best ways to approach may be. Because let's face it, guys, there, yeah, you can go to film school, but there's no like graduate program after film school on like how to actually get a job in the business. So today we're going to talk about some of the things that I heard coming up in the business over and over again, and thought, oh, I must be true. I hear it all the time. And then after working in the business for, whatever it's been now, 15 years, you start to say to yourself, wow, that was a bunch of bullshit that people used to say. So today we're going to try to, you know, kind of like pull the curtain up a little bit.
I would use the term decode. Tommy, when you're talking about that, and to the defense of the artisans out there, including ourselves, if you want to be a lawyer, that's a very tough road. I would think that you'd have to have really good grades in an undergraduate program, then a graduate program, then some type of degree and some type of test to be a lawyer. Or if you want to be a doctor, your family is full of medical doctors, Tommy. They probably can tell you better than I can the amount of education and schooling and investment in their time. But
Yeah,
if
you
you want to
have to
be
go to school.
right, even if you want to work at UPS, I mean, you have a certain amount of training, I'm sure. Or if you want to work at the postal office, there's probably some on the job training that goes with that. And I respect all those professions, buddy. And to me, the most important job in the country is the garbage people, the people that take your garbage. We need them, right? But if you want to get in the entertainment industry, you can read a lot of books. I've written a book about it, but it's really, there is no finite way, A, B, C equals D in this entertainment world. It's really a choose your own adventure. So we'll try to do what we can to help people today.
Well, so for the first one, and I've talked about this one before on the show, but I really do think it's worth mentioning because I know we have a lot of actors that watch the show, that are trying to, go down that path. And it's a tough path to go down. And I feel like when you're an actor, probably more so than when you're a director or when you're a writer, actors hear the most bullshit from their cohorts. The whole actor world is loaded with people that think they know what they're talking about. And again, it's just they're these tiny little smatterings of things that they've heard over the years, but there's not a lot of concrete facts behind them. So one thing that I heard a lot growing up, coming up in the business as an actor, was I did a lot of extra work, and that was my thing. And I remember hearing from some of the other BG actors at the time that had been maybe doing it longer than me. Because keep in mind, my first time on a movie set as a background actor, I think I was 19 years old. So, like, I got into this pretty early. I mean, really, by definition, I'm still a teenager technically. And I'm hearing these little tidbits at lunch from other actors that at the time are probably in their 30s and 40s, and they've been doing this for a while. And one of the big kind of, I don't know why people would say it, but they'd all say, like, well, if you really want to be taken seriously as an actor, you got to stop doing this background work. Don't do background work if we do it because we like the paycheck, we like to come on set. But like, if you really want to be truly an actor that says lines in movies that people, uh, you know, are aware of, that has some mainstream pop, you got to get out of this background acting racket because that'll drag you down. And let me tell you, that couldn't be any further from the truth. That is probably, out of all the movie business misconceptions, uh, there are so many actors that think like, don't do background acting because then you'll be forever labeled as a background actor. Casting agents won't look at you as anything other than a background acting, and then you're done. And it's just not true. I mean, the reality is so many actors have gotten their opportunities because they were just in the right place at the right time. Um, you know, I've seen it myself where you're on set, something doesn't work out with one of the principals, and what do you think they do? Like, sometimes they're not gonna have time to do a full-blown casting call. They have to shoot that day. So what happens? That background actor that the director handpicks suddenly gets upgraded and says a line in the movie. And that happens. It sounds like the dream scenario, like, getting pulled off the bench with the bases loaded and hitting a home run. But that does happen. And you can't put yourself in those positions. You can't have those opportunities unless you were on set in the first place. So, misconception number one, for all the people out there that think background acting is a waste of time if you want to be a serious actor, get that shit out of your head because it ain't true.
Well, Tommy, I can jump in, and a clear illustration of what you just said is my experience. I signed up to do extra work, background work on a movie called Hope Springs in Connecticut. I went down there with just the blank slate. Hey, I'm here to do extra work. It's a 45-minute drive from home. Long story short, buddy, I end up actually, they use my name, Mike, in the scene with Elizabeth Shue and Meryl Streep. And one of our weekly visitors here, Kim Kaling, she was Elizabeth Shue's stand-in for that day. So I mean, I have a scene that's on my acting reel that Woodhaven Productions edited, which is basically me, Meryl Streep, and Elizabeth Shue on the camera together with the name Mike in the scene. So that was background work. And Tommy, I've gone back and forth with that debate myself over extra work. And I think it's the other thing that I would jump in there, buddy, and say that the story that you told about the other actors at lunch telling you what to do, I think some of those lessons that they were trying to share might have worked for New York City at the time or Los Angeles at the time. But you got to remember, folks, every location, every city, Chicago is different than Nashville, is different than Florida, is different than Atlanta, is different than Rhode Island. Every venue that you're in is going to be different than everywhere else. So some of these lessons are not universal.
Yeah, and it's a networking thing. And even if you're just on set, you're meeting people and you're in the right place. I mean, I don't want to talk about background acting all day. That's not what this is about. But I remember the first time being a background actor on like a legitimate movie and just looking around and seeing the big lights and the cameras and seeing like a couple of the stars that were in the show and just realizing that, like, wow, although I'm the low person on the totem pole here, like, I'm playing the game in a sense. Like, I'm at least like I'm on the field in a way, so like it does connect you. It does make you feel good about yourself because when you first start out, acting is such a pipe dream. It's such a crapshoot that sometimes just being on set can remind you that, okay, you're taking the proper steps to get to where you want to be. So that's misconception number one. Let's dive into another misconception. Here's one that I've heard so many fucking times. I think I think we've all heard this one. And you know, this phrase goes beyond the movie business because nepotism is such an important it's such a seemingly big part of the world we live in.
Yeah.
But misconception number 2, it's all who you know, right? You hear that all the time. Oh, well, you know, people get discouraged. They say to themselves, well, I'm not going to get into the movie business. Yeah, I'd love to be a writer. I'd love to be a director. I'd love to be an actor. But at the end of the day, it's all who you know. I don't have an uncle in the business. My dad doesn't make movies. My sister isn't an executive at 20th Century Fox. What shot do I have? And the reality is, that's just a defeatist kind of way to approach anything. I can tell you right off the bat, like one of the things I'm most proud of in my career is I don't know anybody. Like I didn't know anybody. When I first got into this business, every single contact that I made was from my own kind of you know, searching out, seeking out, trying to make a name for myself, tracking people down, introducing myself. My dad is not my dad couldn't be further away from the movie business and what he does professionally. You know, my mother has nothing to do with movies. They weren't singers, they weren't actors, they weren't these stage moms and stage dads that kind of like get me, you know, got me into this since I was a little kid. So
Right.
listen, I'm not saying that I'm the end all be all example, but I feel like a lot of people fear as though the movie business is all about who you know and who you're only going to get hired if you know somebody. I'll tell you right now, I'm in a position to hire people all the time. I would never hire someone just because I know them or just because I like them or just because they're my friend. Because at the end of the day, if they mess something up, that's going to come right back on me. It's a reflection of me. So I can tell you, at least with my experience, just because we're friends doesn't mean you're going to be, you know, in my movie, work on my movie. I mean, yeah, you can visit one day if you want, but you know, the whole like who you know thing, I think that gets a little bit more emphasis than it needs to because the reality is, especially, and this is my last note on that, even with actors, right? Oh, it's all who you know. All right, yeah, Nicolas Cage, his cousin is Francis Ford Coppola, right? Yeah,
Yes.
that probably helped him a little bit in the beginning get where he's gotta go. But the reality is, if Nicolas Cage wasn't the phenomenal actor that he is and such a unique talent, having Coppola as your uncle wouldn't have got him as far as he did. That's only gonna get you so far. My point is, even if you do have great connections, at a certain point, the camera's gonna be turned on you or the budget's gonna be handed over to you, whatever it is, you're gonna have to shine at a certain point. So it's kind of like, yeah, you know, maybe it can help you to know someone, but I don't want people to feel discouraged that like, well, I got no connection into the business. What shot do I ever have? And you have a big shot. You just got to make those connections yourself.
Hey, Tommy, going to the Coppola family for a second. Nicolas Cage actually used the last name Cage as a stage name because he didn't want preferential treatment. But maybe his cousin Sofia Coppola was cast in The Godfather 3 when Winona Ryder backed out or had to be replaced for whatever reason, a scheduling issue maybe. And the critics especially crucified young Sofia Coppola. I thought she was okay in the movie. I thought she did fine. But the critics crucified her acting, and she didn't put her tail between her legs and go hide under a rock for the rest of her life. She came back strong and directed a movie with a pretty unknown Scarlett Johansson and Bill Murray. And she made Sofia Coppola made a name for herself as a very prominent director of this generation. And she did not let that unfortunate experience with Godfather 3 and her father casting her as that part to end her. She got over it.
Right.
So even the people
But
who I would say they are nepotism benefactors, that's for sure. It does give you an advantage, but you have to back it up, like you said. I mean, nobody's out there buying a Sean Lennon or a Julian Lennon album these days, Tommy.
no, it's only going to get you in the door. It's not going to get you, you know, through the roof, as they say. I don't know. Do you want to go through the roof? Do people want to fly? If you wanted to fly through a roof, I don't know why you would. That would probably lead to some kind of severe neck injury or at least a concussion. Next misconception that will call out on the carpet. I need an agent to be successful. Hold on, I'm going to say that again because I got an email. I need I need an agent to be successful. That's not true, guys. I'll tell you what. I didn't have an agent. Here's a little news flash. I didn't have an agent for about the first 10 years of my career. I directed many movies. I wrote many screenplays. I had some okay parts as an actor, whatever. All that shit happened without the benefit of agent one, not one agent. So, listen, again, I'm not trying to use myself as the end all be all. I'm not, an Academy Award winning filmmaker, but I am a working person in this business. Like, this is what I make my living doing. I've made a very comfortable living, and it all came without an agent for 10 years. And listen, a lot of that, what that did was it forced me to kind of educate myself on the business side of the business and learn how to read contracts and learn how to kind of be aware of where I could get effed, as they say, and watch for the pitfalls and protect myself. And I look back at some of my early directing contracts compared to now, and I've learned over the years all these different things that you need to add to protect yourself and to cover your ass. So a lot of people tell me that they're like, "Well, Tommy, I really want to get an agent. I really got to get an agent. Got to get an agent." And I feel like sometimes maybe I'm wrong, and I'm not pointing any fingers. This isn't specifically directed at anyone. This is just shit that I've heard over the last 15 years. I hear people put so much energy and effort into trying to get an agent that they put more effort into that than they do actually being a good actor or being a filmmaker or writing scripts. I feel like if half of these people took or I should say, I feel like if these people took half of the energy they invest into trying to get an agent, cold calling agencies and sending out cover letters and all this shit. If you put that energy into just like making a film, a very low budget film to kind of call your own, that it could be your calling card, or if you're an actor, if you, study or, try to get with a theater company and get into a play, I feel like that's where you should be putting your energy in. The agent stuff will come in time. It took a long time for me to get there. It really, and this is again, Mike mentioned this before. Every territory is a little different. Every situation's different.
Market.
But
I was looking for the
every
word market.
yeah, every market's different. But the reality is, we are in a global market now. You know what I mean? Like, meaning, I live in Rhode Island, but I've made movies just made a movie in Mississippi, Los Angeles, Alabama, Oklahoma. So we don't just stay in our little market. And now with technology, it's a global market. So the point is, I don't want people to get discouraged because it literally took me 10 years to even be looked at by an agent. And it's because, like, here's the thing, like, agents aren't just looking at anybody. They want to see somebody who's consistently kind of worked in the business and has a little bit of a track record. Because think about it. We say this all the time. We've said this on the show before. Time is money. That goes for any business. So agents don't make money right away off of you. They're betting on you. You're an investment to an agent. An agent is basically going to take you on and say, all right, I am going to invest my time into this individual because I believe that I can get them money, and that's when I'll get paid off of a piece of their money that they bring in. So if an agent's going to want to invest in you and you don't have any credits and you haven't really done anything, why are they going to want to spend time, aka time is money, on you if you haven't done anything? Maybe you made one short film. Great. Hey, come back and see us when you've actually done something and we can make money with you. Because before that, until you have a track record, how are they going to make money with you?
Well, Tommy, you use that age-old cliche. It's not what you know, it's who you know. But I heard a spin on that from somebody, which is, it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And right now, Tommy, you and I are using the biggest tool for marketing people, I would say, in the world right now, and
Hey,
that's
don't call
YouTube.
me that.
No,
Don't
you're
call
not
me.
the tool.
Why'd
You're not the
you just
tool.
call me the biggest. You just called me the biggest tool in front of the whole and
I
action. audience.
No, I said we're using the biggest tool.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're using.
Are you that vulnerable, buddy? Jesus, come on. I said we're using the biggest tool in the world right now, which is YouTube. And if you don't like YouTube, which I like YouTube, you've got your TikTok, which I don't use. You've got your Facebook. You've got all the Rumble, which I've got a toe. There's a toe of Mike Messier in Rumble that people can find. And Tommy, all these things, they weren't around when you and I got started. You know what I mean? Or they were in their beginning phases, I would say. And people like Logan Paul, who's a marginal talent, but he's a great wrestler. But he used YouTube to get his name out there, and his brother, and now his brother's fighting Mike Tyson for all this money. So the reality is, it's a numbers game. You're at this point with some of these things, we're playing against the numbers. But if anyone out there can tap into the next big thing, the next YouTube or the next social media craze, hop on it early, I would say, because I wish I had hopped on this YouTube thing early as well.
Oh man, Mike, I kick myself all the time because I remember when YouTube came out, I was like I was like, it was like a freshman in film school or whatever. And I remember thinking it was dumb. And I remember thinking it was like, oh, that's kids bullshit. That's bullshit. You know, like
Right.
no serious artists are going to be putting their creations on this YouTube. Man,
Yeah.
if I had just been posting videos since then, I would probably be a millionaire right now from my YouTube subscriptions, because it was like the Wild West back then. It was much easier. There weren't as many rules. It was easier to get subscriptions. The algorithm was in a different place back then. But that's a different story for a different day. And I think, to kind of pile on to Mike's point, in this day and age, maybe, all right, let's say you go and try and get an agent's attention, right? You go to whatever, name that agency, you send them all of your shit, so to speak. Maybe, if you don't have maybe you don't have a lot of acting roles, maybe you haven't been in a lot of films, but if you have a YouTube channel that has, say, 100,000 subs, and all of your videos are getting 100,000 plus views, guess what? That's currency right there. That's as good as money, and that's as good as being, sounds crazy, but in this day and age, having a very strong TikTok or YouTube channel is enough to get your foot in the door and be a fucking actor. I know that sounds insane, but like, there are so many YouTube stars and TikTok stars that are getting cast in movies, and that's why they're casting. So again, we try to we're not just trying to, like, I hate people who just like poke something and say, well, this is wrong, and that's it. We're trying to say, well, this is wrong, and this is what you can do to kind of counter it. So if you don't have all those movie credits in actual films or actual TV shows, and you're trying to build your repertoire so that an agent will see you and realize that you've actually got a little track record, maybe you should be making your own YouTube videos. Maybe you should be making your own content on TikTok. Try to get something together that an agent would see, and the little light bulb would go off, and they'd say, I can monetize this person, because that's what they're there to do. They're there to monetize you. That's all it is. It sounds a lot less romantic when you look at it that way, but really, all you are a monetization device to them. You're something that they can put out on the street and go make money with.
Yeah. Not to use the oldest profession metaphor, but perhaps. And Tommy, here's another thing, real quick. Ask someone that has a screenplay agent or a screenwriting agent or an actor that has an agent or a manager. 9 times out of 10, those people are complaining about their agent or manager. My agent doesn't get me enough auditions. My
Sure.
screenwriting agent doesn't get my scripts to the right people. So, like you said, if you put all this energy into getting that manager or agent, sometimes they can't help you as much as you'd like them to. I'm not saying don't try, but I'm
No,
just
you're
saying,
so right, Mike. An
no,
agent is not it's not the golden ticket from Willy Wonka. Trust me. Like, if you
right.
get picked up by an agency, it's not like you've just won the final package on The Price is Right, and all the streamers come down and you get paid right on the spot. It's just another door that opens for more opportunities, and it's just another even longer path down a longer road. Guys, like, the moral of the story for all this stuff is it's not easy, and it takes a lot of hard work. And that's why, like, a lot of these misconceptions are kind of like, quick fixes. Here's another misconception. This is a big one, and I can save a lot of people a lot of money right now, I hope. Back to the actors, because again, I feel like this show is probably most geared towards actors. Um, I need really great headshots to book roles. Woo! Talk about one of the biggest misconceptions in the world. I know so many people. Matter of fact, I have a friend right now who's going through it. Who, there's you got to be leery, man. There's all these different like marketing companies for actors that will do things like, hey, they'll reach out to you, or sometimes if you reach out to them, say, hey, we think you've got a really great look, and we're confident that you could book if you had the right package of photos. And we have a website where we take the photos and we put those photos on our website, and industry professionals will scour our website and find people directly off of our site for major motion pictures, television shows, music videos, commercials, and you get all excited and your eyes start to light up and you think you're going to be a goddamn star. And they say, now all we need you to do is to plank down $450 for these headshots and meet with our photographer in this janky studio in a couple weeks, and we'll put you up on our website. And then you spend the $400 or $500. You take your nice pictures, and yeah, they're great, wonderful pictures. You're so attractive. You take these pictures, and now they go on some website that industry people are looking at. They're not looking at shit. Okay, it's the biggest scam in movie history, probably. All these various different marketing, modeling agencies. Man, it's the biggest work in the world. So, and I've seen it on the other end. I've been in the casting room where, like, sometimes here's what you don't understand: casting people are desperate to find the right person. They're dying to find that right person. So if they see someone they like in a room and they don't have a headshot, it's like, oh, just stand up against a wall. We're gonna just take a quick picture of you right now. They don't give a fuck, pardon my French, about how pretty your headshot is. They don't care. If they really want you, if you're good at what you do, if your audition kicks ass, they could give two flying you know what's about what your picture looks like. Your picture? Really?
Hey, Tommy, when I first started in acting, the big thing was you had to have a brooding black and white headshot. And for about a year, that was the thing. You had to have a brooding black and white, sharp as a tack, looked like you just came from New York City, Broadway auditions all day, headshot. And within a year, Tommy, I started seeing some color headshots circulating. And then a year after that,
Was this you,
everyone was
Mike?
doing color.
Was this you?
Yeah,
Show me
that was
your show it. Do
my
it for me right
my
now.
all right.
Do it for me. Show me. This was mine. This would be mine. Let's see your brooding headshot. Oh, that's sexy. Damn.
My brooding
I,
headshot, I think I still have somewhere. It was the mouth was agape, and I looked very angry.
wow.
But my point is, Tommy, that's what I knew things were a bit of a work, as you would say, because it's like if the brooding black and white headshot was such an essential thing, how come that magically changed to color within 2 years?
Trends, baby. It really does all come down to trends. And I just, again, listen, please don't think I'm being fresh. There's nothing wrong with having a nice headshot. Maybe your buddy's a photographer. Maybe you're an amateur photographer. Hell, our iPhones are so crisp and sharp as a tack. You could take your headshot on your iPhone and be just as good. I've seen so many people, and I even personally know people who have shelled out dough to these people that are, to me, they're like carnies that are
Yeah.
preying on the vulnerable actor's spirit. Because let's face it, I'm an actor myself, although I don't really like to admit it. Actors are vulnerable. So if you come out and tell us, "Oh, we love your look. You have a great look. We think we'll be able to book you very easily. Just give us that $450 check." And
Which
it's,
yeah.
it's just
That
bullshit, Mike.
that email is copy and pasted, so many times, man. I mean, they're not looking at you and saying, "My God, this person is so awesome." It's just a copy and paste. They did a BCC, a blind CC to 100 people in one email, and maybe they did a app where they could put your individual first name in the
Right.
email. You know, here's a. I want to go back real quick to the extras thing, Tommy, just as a little bit of a up note for everybody. Jeff Goldblum in, I believe it was a Woody Allen movie, Annie Hall. Ricky Lake had one line at the end of the Melanie Griffith movie, Working Girl, with the ex-wife of Don Johnson, who you've worked with, as a matter of
Oh
fact.
man, you could probably go down the list, bro. I know Brad Pitt was an extra. He was like a
Right.
waiter. I mean,
That
so many
Brad
stars.
Brad Pitt did a Mountain. I think it did a Mountain Dew commercial. Was Brad Pitt, and the final one that I always like is if you look at Pulp Fiction really hard, when Bruce Willis hits Marcellus with his car, the person that says he went that away is Kathy Griffith.
Right.
Kathy Griffin from the D list ladies. So my point is, don't get too uninspired by this episode because there's still hope for everybody.
Well, no, I mean, I think that's you should be inspired by this because I'm trying to tell people that a lot of this shit that is kind of like walls that are put up,
Right.
gatekeeping. There's a lot of gatekeeping in the movie business, okay? And we're trying to like bust some of them gates down with some of this. Let's get in and let's take a quick minute to say hello to everybody. Guys, I mean this from the bottom of my cold, darkened, at times cracked and shattered heart. It really does mean a lot to kind of get to hang out with everybody for an hour on Tuesday, right around lunchtime, and just kind of shoot the breeze. So, what's up, Laza? It's good to see you, my friend. You know, I don't have a lot of friends from Australia. In fact, I think I have two, and you're one of them, brother. So, thank you for being just one of two. You're not a one of one, but you're a one of two, and that's still special. Hey Ariana, what's up? We're gonna hang out later. Ariana and I have a really cool Christmas screenplay that's just about done with that first act, so we're gonna bang that out later. Laza, you again. Mikey said I would be a good producer. You would be a good producer. You have a very knowledgeable, vast uh sort of mindset for movies, entertainment. Nepotism only gets you in the door, it won't keep you in the room. That's a fact. It won't keep you in the room. And a lot of times, I've found that people that are in positions of nepotism sometimes get challenged and they become the hardest worker in the room just because
Sure.
they don't want people to think that, like, oh, you're only here because, So sometimes nepotism can lead to a real hard working person. All right. Sounds like me. Only done one short film. Need experience. Yeah, Laza, get it going, brother. Get it on and popping. And as always, and I tell this to everybody that watches And Action, no matter what the episode topic is, whatever we're talking about, if you have questions about movies, writing, acting, those uncomfortable questions that you're afraid to ask anybody because they might look at you for funny or whatever, we don't give a shit. Drop them down, and we'll give you our honest reactions and answers the best we can with our experience. Charlie Short Films, good to see you, brother. I saw you chime in last week, and I didn't get a chance to say hi, but Charlie is another one of our international viewers. So we love this community we're building. Donna, what's happening? Donna says agreed. I think that was in reference to the headshots. Yeah, man. Some people just tank so much money into that stuff. Laza says, I got the Italian sign from Tommy. I feel special. Hey, how you doing? I'm like Paulie Walnuts over here from The Sopranos. All right,
Hey,
guys. So yeah, thanks for being here with us. We do have we've got some more misconceptions to get into. Mike, were you gonna say
yeah,
something? I feel like I
yeah.
cut you off.
I feel like Laza brought up something that I relate to. He said he did one short film. I've actually watched Laza's acting in that short film, and it's good.
All right.
But
Well, Laza's not paying for ad space here, so let's
no, but
not plug him too hard, bud.
it's leading into my anecdote, buddy. The anecdote is that when I first started acting and doing like a short film here and a short film there, and then other things, I think I was kind of in this mindset that a lot of people are when they start out, Tommy, which is you do one thing, you kind of sit around and you wait for it to get edited, and then you wait for it to go to a film festival or a local screening or go to YouTube, and then you look for something else. There was too much of a gap between when I would do one thing. I was kind of waiting for that thing to do whatever it was going to do before I would go out and seek out something else. And I think within a couple of years, I learned unfortunately, some of these short films that you are in don't get finished, they don't get edited, or if they do, they don't come out well, or whatever. So you really have to be very busy as an actor, especially looking for more and more stuff. And Tommy, you do that as a filmmaker and as a writer, which is you're always looking for the next gig. Even when you have a gig going on, you're spinning the plates, as they say.
Always,
So
always.
one lesson that I think that I feel like Laza in particular could learn, because I did the same mistake myself, is I waited for that one plate to spin and drop and crack before I started spinning another plate. You know what I mean? So I
For
think if I
sure.
could go back in time, I would be more of a plate spinner. Now the downside to that is if you're the director and you're trying to work with actors that are always busy or have all these scheduling conflicts, well, that's the director's problem. But as far as an actor goes, especially, spin those plates.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, I'm always working on at least like right now, for example, and I don't want to spend too much time on this because I got a couple of other things that I want to get into. But like right now, just to give you a little bit of a window into Tommy DiNucci's day to day. Right now, what I'm working on is I directed a movie back in October and November. It's a Lifetime film. We're finishing that, so we're locked picture, and now I'm colorizing it, doing the color grade, and we're doing all the sound design. So that's happening. I'll be in a meeting for that project for like 4 hours. Then I'll jump into another meeting where I'm working on my movie that I shot in Mississippi back in February. I'll work on that movie for a few hours, and then I'll write a screenplay that I've recently been hired to do for a few hours. That's 3 movies in one day that I've got juggling. Because if you don't do that, you're gonna get so stuck because like Mike said, these projects take so long, and when you do this for a living and that's your only source of income, it's like, well, shit, well, yeah, I got to get paid on this and then work on this for a month and time it out so that you're going to get another check. So that, like, well, when I finish this job, I'm going to get paid on this and I got more money coming in because, those bills, they just keep coming in every month, brother. The bills don't care that you didn't get another project this summer or whatever. They're going to keep coming. So you got to really keep working at it. And this is one other thing I can tell you to Mike's point, if you're ever at a film festival, if you're ever at whatever, and they ask you a question, hey, that was great. We loved your movie. What's next? Don't you ever, and I mean ever, say, well, nothing. I don't know. I've actually seen that happen. I've seen situations where a filmmaker is interviewed in the Q&A after their short film. And they're like, I don't know. I don't really have anything next. That is the worst answer ever. And what you need to do is you got to lie, even if you need to lie and say, "Oh, I'm making I'm making a movie about an energy drink distributor, a guy who makes energy drinks." We're gonna work on the script now. You got to always have one behind the other, and just keep that going.
And if
But
even Tommy, they could also defer,
misconceptions, bud.
like I would say, like if someone asked me, I'd say, well, actually, I'm working on my art now. I'm concentrating on my art. You can kind of defer them to other creative projects if you really have nothing in the barrel for film. At least still
No,
be an
just lie.
artist.
No, lie to them. Fuck that. Never have
All right.
nothing in the barrel for film. Lie if you must.
Oh, all
Um,
right. What's next in the
all
misconceptions?
right, next misconceptions. All right, so here's one that I've heard many times. Well, it's so hard to get distribution. I make movies, but then like I just make it and then I don't know where to put it out there. And like that's kind of not true. We hear that all the time. Like this is the era, like content, content, content. Distributors are constantly looking for material. The hard part's not finding a distributor. The hard part is finding a quality product that a distributor would actually be interested in. So what I recommend is like go out there and produce something that is attractive to a distributor, meaning, okay, the quality's there, it's feature length, it's got decent performances, doesn't need to have movie stars. But if you have a feature movie that's 85 to 90, 95 minutes, it's got a beginning, middle, and an end, it's completely passing all the levels of QC, quality control, meaning all the specs technically are laid out so that you could basically give this distributor a hard drive, and between the hard drive and sending them some files, uh, you'd be able to literally hand over the movie to them, nuts, soup to nuts. There's going to be a lot of distributors that are attracted to what you got going on. Now, here's the thing. The misconception there might be, a lot of people think, oh, you got a distribution deal? You must have made $1 million. The
Right.
reality is, and I'm going to give you the biggest misconception in the world. This is what a lot of people don't know. When you see a movie out there on, say Amazon Prime or something like that, yes, sometimes they do give you what's called an MG, a money guarantee, where they'll shell out a certain amount of money and say, we're going to give you this right off the top, and then we split the commissions that come in. Guys, most low budget independent movies, when you get a distribution deal, they don't give you a fucking dime up front. They don't give you dollar number one up front. What you're doing is you're entering a partnership with that distributor where they basically say, okay, we're going to become partners. And all the numbers are different, but for the most part, it's usually like, all right, we're going to have like a 70-30 split. 70 goes to the distribution company, 30 goes to the distributor. I'm sorry, 70 to the distributor, 30 to the movie company until they, quote, recoup, because the distributor has to put in a bunch of money. And then it flips back. And now, okay, now you might get the 60-40 split once they've got their money back, or maybe you get the 70 and then they get the 30. So my point is, like, you're not going to get rich just because you got a distribution deal. And a lot of these distributors aren't offering money right off the bat. They're just offering an opportunity for them to stamp their label onto your film so they can put it out there. So if you have a movie, again, the misconception where it's so hard to find distribution, it's not. Just get yourself make something really great and get all the proper tools. You got to have your 30-second trailer, 90-second trailer, 10-second teasers, a great poster, a really great deck. They call it a deck, or a lot of times you'll hear it referred to as a lookbook. You got to have this package together. If you ship that out to name those distribution companies, if you have something really good, you'll get that distribution deal, no problem.
Hey, Tommy, I got to jump in on this one. Years ago, about 8 years ago, on this topic, there was a company that's since gone out of business called, I believe it was called Distribber. It wasn't distributor, it was
Sure, I
Distribber.
remember that.
So
Yeah.
this company, and I actually had a film friend, a guy that ran classes. He told me personally, he advised me to go to this company. Well, I talked to that company, and they had a fee. Their fee was $6,000 for them to help me make the deliverables, which is some of the stuff that you were talking about. But they wanted me to pay them $6,000 for these deliverables, which was basically closed captioning and
Sure.
different things to get the film distributed. But there was no guarantees that I would get any of that $6,000 back. And Tommy, I knew that these guys were a joke when I was on the phone with them. And within one conversation, I'm in Rhode Island, they're in California, I think, on a speakerphone. These two guys, their $6,000 fee, when I said I wasn't going to pay it, suddenly became $3,000. So I
Wow.
realized, hey, if magically in 2 seconds, when it seems like I'm not going to pay 6,000, but within 2 seconds that becomes 3,000, I knew that I could give them 9,000, I could give them 50,000, I could give them $5, and I would get the same results. And the point is, Tommy, I'm glad that I had that instinct, because 4 or 5 years later, distributor was out of business and getting sued by a lot of filmmakers who felt they got ripped off. And I'm not sure where that case stands now, or the situation,
Right.
but I do
Well,
know that the company went under, and I'm lucky because I didn't fall for their uh, bullshit, basically.
Well, here's the thing. The reality is, this is another misconception that we can kind of quickly jump into. A lot of people think that, when you edit the movie, it's done. You colorize it. Some people know about, color grading and sound design. Obviously, you got to have it scored and you see the composer. But what a lot of people don't know about is one of the most costly portions of finishing your movie are what's called the deliverables, and handing in the deliverables. And the deliverables are basically uh, sort of the chemical compound of the movie. If everything we see on the outside, our skin, our eyes, our nose, that's the movie, but our guts, our organs, that's the deliverables. You know what I mean? Meaning, like, these are actual, like, technical files that need to be kind of put out through various countries. And remember, there's no standard setup. So, like Mike mentioned, you might need to do closed captioning for several different territories, and that has an expense when you put out a film. So there are so many kind of frankly boring and not sexy at all expenses that kind of come along to putting a movie out there. And deliverables are pretty much all of, covers all of those kind of extra ancillary costs that you need just to put the movie out, and it's very
Tom,
costly.
let me clarify my story real quick. The issue that I had with that company was not deliverables, because like you're right, that's a true thing. It was that their job, they call themselves an aggregator, which again is a real thing. There really are film aggregators. That's legitimate. But this particular company, I just had a feeling that they weren't doing things the right way, and I was proven to be true. So if you hear the term deliverables, don't think that I said that that's incorrect or not legitimate. And aggregator is a person that's like a liaison to get your
Yeah,
deliverables
I
to
think I
the,
think
you know,
you just felt like a little bit like, used car salesman approach where it's like, anyone who's going to quickly knock half the price off, that goes to show you the amount of inflation there was in the first place. I mean, I
right.
could tell you what they were doing because I've been a part of businesses like that in a sense. I've run a post-production company, Woodhaven Media, for many years now. And listen, it's just business. In their mind, they're probably like, all right, we've got to get these deliverables out. Usually, when was this? About 10 years ago?
About eight
Maybe
years
roughly
ago.
8
About
years
eight.
ago. So I can tell you right now, price of doing business about 8 years ago to deliver a movie. Was it a feature length movie?
Yeah, it was blood sugar cidace. Yep.
Okay, so like yeah, feature length deliverables would probably have cost them back then somewhere around $2,000 or $3,000. They might have been able to like hire some kid, as they say, to do it for like a grand 1,500. So right then, they were charging you six. They were probably going to pay this kid to do it for 1,500 or 2,000, and they'd make a few grand every time they make a deal like this. And then when you said you wouldn't pay it, they said, "Fuck. All right, well, shit. I'd rather make 1,500 than make zero. So yeah, we'll do it for 3,000, and then all right, well, this one will make a little less money, but you know, 10% of a busted toaster is better than nothing, as I always
And they were
say.
they were still going to make money off the back end too. So it wasn't like they were doing me any favors. But anyway, Tommy, that anecdote reminds me of the photography thing. The other thing with the photography thing is that photography swindle is often done with kid actors, because parents are often thinking, my kid is the cutest kid in the world. My kid is the cutest kid in the state.
Sure, parents
Of
are
course,
suckers.
right. My
Parents are
kid's
suckers. Bottom line.
yeah, my kid's the next Britney Spears or Justin Timberlake or Mikey likes his cereal kid. So parents are often going to pay these inflated photography photos because they live vicariously through their children, and it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, it is. Unfortunately, again, it's like I think parents have what I like to call, blind eyes sometimes because they're just so excited about seeing their kid do something that the kid, sometimes the kid doesn't even like it as much as the parents does. You hope that the kid actually enjoys it. You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, they're a little blinded by that. So yeah, misconceptions, guys. We're going to kind of wrap things up on that. I feel like there's probably a lot more misconceptions, and this is a fun topic. I think everyone's been having fun in the comments section. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mike and I revisit movie misconceptions down the road at some point because I feel like we just kind of scraped the surface. There's so many of them, and you know if anybody has any questions about movie misconceptions, again, feel free to drop it down there. I do want to take a second to tell you all about The Florist, which I'm really excited about. The Florist is a web series that our pilot episode will be coming out. And I know earlier on the show, I said I don't really consider myself an actor. I don't like to admit it. But the reality is, everybody, I'm acting in The Florist. I play one of the main parts opposite Fred Sullivan, who we've mentioned on the show. Really terrific actor. And Fred and I play a father and son who have a very kind of weird relationship. My character is severely depressed and going through a tough time. And he learns that his father, who he thought his whole life was just this jovial, happy go lucky florist, is in fact a contract killer, which of course is a bit of a surprise. And then, sure enough, my character realizes that, you know what? I want to be in the family business. I want to be a contract killer too. And sure enough, we realize that the only thing that kind of gets my character out of his depressed funk is bonding with his father over killing people. And that kind of makes him happy. But they're not just any people. We don't just go around killing anyone. We have a heavy vetting process. They're only bad people. We're talking about the lowest of the low, real scumbags, people that don't deserve to be drawing breaths of the same air as us. And we kind of clean up society a little bit. It's called The Florist. It's a roughly a 22 minute episode, which is your standard 30-minute sitcom style episodic show. The show is kind of a dark comedy. There are some dramatic moments where you're going to be like, "Oh, okay, they went there," but for the most part, it doesn't take itself too seriously, and we had a lot of fun making it. It's going to be available on my Patreon channel, which if you go to Patreon and you search Tom DiNucci, you'll be able to find that there. And it's cheap, guys. It's going to be available for $1.99. $2 for the price of a small coffee. And even these days, man, I went to a coffee shop the other day. It was $5 for a small coffee. So the Florist is actually cheaper than most small coffees at your foofy coffee shops. So for $2, you can support us. I know Lazo will be happy to hear that Tommy Dreamer is in the Florist. A little bit of a wrestling nod. So I'm excited about the show. It's going to be available most likely not next week, but the week after next. Don't worry, we'll be announcing it. And of course, we're going to do a whole show dedicated to The Florist once it's out and it's live. So you're going to be hearing a lot more about that. And as always, Mike reminded you earlier in the show, but if you haven't, please click that subscribe button and hit the notifications bell for us. This channel is knocking on the door of 3,000 subs. We're getting very close. I can feel it. So if you're part of that group of almost 3,000 subscribers, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to kind of crack that 3,000 and go beyond. So, Mike, what do you got going on this week? Anything you want to chill out?
Yeah, I've been in judging process with my buddy Kazuya Akazawa from Japan. He's my judge, and I'm, I guess, the guy that founded the All Comedy Short Film Festival. The live event is coming up May 18th, 2024, in Atlantic Beach at Atlantic Theaters, Florida. Right now, buddy, I'm in the middle of judging, so I'm watching many, 146 short films need to be
Wow.
judged. And we've got awards for 30-minute shorts, 15-minute shorts, 5 minutes, and 1 minute. And this is the judging process. So this is the hard part, because a lot of good people from across the world made short films for our evaluations, and we have to be really fair and go with our gut, but make some tough choices, because you'd like to give every film an award, but you can't, because that's not the way it works. So right now we're in the judging process.
It's got to be really challenging to watch that many and have sort of like a clean palette every time. You know what I mean? Like hit the mental reset button and be like, okay, I'm gonna watch this next one with the same level of excitement and openness to enjoy, because I can imagine after you've seen 35 short films in a row, it's kind of like banging your head against the wall.
You got to take breaks, and that's that's the key, is like knowing when that clock, like, okay, I'm not in the mood to laugh anymore, so I got to take a break. And buddy, I'm following that up with the All Horror Short Film Festival, which will be in September, and the submissions
An
are
all
open now.
horror short festival?
Yeah, so that's taking place
Oh,
in September.
you said horror. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what'd you think I said?
I thought you said an all horror short film festival, and I was like, what was that? What would that even be like? I guess it's legal in some states. I know if it was in Nevada, you could have one.
Viva Las Vegas. No, this will be, horror is a hard word to say.
Horror.
Horror.
It's not an
Horror.
all horror film festival. It's a
Horror.
horror film festival. Gotcha.
Which will be in September, and of course the standby, the legendary Avalonia Film Festival, will be in November. So Tommy, it's a big year for me in the film festival circuit, and so on and so forth. But buddy, I think this show we'll call it a wraps. But I'm looking forward to the next one, and whatever we do next show will be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited. And the next time you people see me, I'm gonna have a shaved head, guys. That's something that only the And Action folks know about. See all this hair? I'm tired of it. The summer's coming. I'm gonna buzz it down, and we're gonna have a fun new summer look on episode 79 of And Action. I might just dedicate the whole episode to my hair.
Why don't we do a live? Get Gianna to cut your hair live on the show, buddy, and sell the locks to charity or something.
Well, bud, unfortunately, and this is another And Action secret, my locks are dyed, brother. I don't know if you can see, but I got a little of that residual gray coming in, so you can't donate the dyed hair. But shaving it live is kind of a funny concept. Maybe we'll do that. But yeah, next week we're going to be aerodynamic and coming at you. So be on the lookout for us. Mike and I are going to chat about a topic, and we'll have something real fun for you. Thank you so much. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you next time on And Action Filmmaking Podcast.